So what are we doing here? Are we doing another video about the DCEU? Another video about the DC Extended Universe where the quality has been sort of like on the ups and downs, mostly on the downs. I gotta be honest there. Like, you know, some of the DCEU movies didn't land or stick because they tried their best to emulate what the MCU was doing, right? And essentially what happened, instead of DC doing their own thing, I think doing their own thing or doing their own stick, like they're trying to take over the realm of R-rated movies like Joker, you know, they should stick to that. And competition is good. Competition is good. Maybe the competition will finally see that yes, you can do big budgeted R-rated movies that can pass $1 billion. That being said, I think that what we're here to talk about today is we're here to talk about the Zack Snyder cut possibly never happening and giving you some insight on what I think about this. The Snyder cut has been the fabled cut of Justice League that was done by Zack Snyder before he unfortunately had to exit the project. And I think that was due in part to the unfortunate passing of one of his family members who committed suicide. May they rest in peace once again. But he had to exit the project. And then they got Josh Whedon on board, who was mostly known for his infamy with doing one of the Avengers movies. I think it was the second one, Age of Ultron, and he sort of shoehorned in some love affairs between Natasha and the Hulk, and it was kind of weird, you know. But they got Josh Whedon on board, and I think DC's philosophy was to lighten up the movie for Justice League, hence why we got some of those sort of comedic elements for that movie, and we got sort of a lot of stuff put on the cutting room floor. Because remember, Justice League was supposed to be a two-part movie. Like I said, the DCEU was emulating Marvel at the time, so there was that point where Avengers Infinity War was going to be a two-part movie. So DC decided, hey, maybe Justice League will be a two-part movie as well, and we get to flesh this out over time, maybe introduce some elements. I know there was some rumors talking about Darkseid being evolved into the equation, which would have been kind of fucking crazy. But that's why people really wanted this Snyder cut. They really wanted this cut of the movie because DCEU fanatics, they really just want to cling on to something, right? I mean, it's no brainer there. It's no contest to how these people think. They want to cling on to something that's remotely good, that will gravitate them to say, you know, fuck Marvel, we got this over here, and that's not changing for anyone. Now we finally have more definitive great movies with the Snyder cut. But one thing these folks are not realizing is that recently WB came out and they said, we're not doing a Snyder cut. We're not releasing a Snyder cut because the special effects are incomplete. It does exist. It costs way too much money to finance and do and finish. And we want to move on to other projects. We want to do other things as a business. And we want to invest money into things that will possibly keep us afloat for the remaining future. And that's an understandable decision from a business perspective. But the fanatics aren't having it. They are not having it. The fallout to DC, they had to come out and say something about this, right? Because there's no way that they could have kept this under the door for way too long. You had like artists, you had people involved with the movie sharing these black and white stills confirming that the movie does exist to some capacity. So the only way to sort of talk about it, the only way to give it some acknowledgement is by making a PR statement. And the PR statement, as of course, as expected, is something that these guys did not want to hear, with them saying that they don't want to spend all this money to put interest into a movie that has failed the first time with the previous cut from Josh Whedon. So why are we going to make this Zack Snyder cut and put millions of dollars into the special effects if it could have the same sort of effect with failing? That's what people really don't understand. What if the Snyder cut really isn't that great? I mean, I'm all for them releasing it. I'm all for seeing this alternate cut of the movie that could have been, you know what I mean? But what if it's not as great as the initial cut? What if it's not good at all? What if it's just marginally better and the company wants some return for all the money they spent for the special effects? You have to think outside of the box as to why they aren't releasing this. Should they release it? Yeah, I do agree. Will it be as popular or big or enticing as many people say it it would be? Probably not. It probably wouldn't even get a billion like Joker did. So I mean, unless you have some sort of undying support, this could go either way in the box office. As I said before, I am all for the DCEU also improving, because I did like Shazam, I did see Aquaman, I didn't see a lot of their recent films, I did see Joker, and that's not part of the DCEU, but I do prefer if they did more standalone movies with more R-rated characters, maybe do something like Justice League Dark. It's been teased for a while now that there's rumors going around that people want, you know, Del Toro for Justice League Dark. That would be fucking amazing. Do something like that. Keep those sort of R-rated directors, those horror movie directors in the forefront when making these creative movies, and maybe you'll have something over your competition. But the fanatics going crazy and saying that, well, you know, they are lying to us. I know companies lied to us before for PR. I know companies have said shit before, but maybe they're serious this time. You have to take that at face value sometimes. Maybe they just don't want to do it because they feel like it's way too much of an investment and they don't see much of a return for it. Again, it's like, don't be delusional. Don't say, well, oh man, you know, they're doing this movie. What if they don't do it? What if they never do it? What if they never do the Zack Snyder cut for Justice League? Guess what? You're going to be the one who has egg on his face when this happens, and I'm just going to be the one laughing, because you gotta expect the unexpected but also have scaled back expectations to the point where you don't want to hype something up constantly over and over again, and then you do not get it. You do not get your expectations, you do not get your wish fulfilled just because you hype something up to hell and back. A lot of people have hyped up the Snyder cut to hell and fucking back, and I say just chill out, see what happens in the future. If the PR is true that Warner Brothers doesn't want to do it, then okay, let's just hope that the DC Extended Universe and their future standalone R-rated movies improve for the better. If you don't have that optimism, then you're never going to get out of this bubble, and they can say whatever they want and you'll just be in a pile of delusion, and I don't live like that. Honestly, I want DC and Marvel to thrive and work on their shortcomings and work on everything they need to work on. I do believe that Marvel should make more R-rated content and stop being so pigeonholed to do PG-13 rated content, especially with a lot of mature characters that you have like Daredevil, Punisher, Blade, etc., in order to get them to shine. And although I said this before, I did say that you have to make a good movie no matter what the rating is. I think it would appeal a lot more if you had an R-rated movie slapped to that MCU Blade movie that you guys are doing, and you would appease the people that said, you know, hey, it was cool when Wesley Snipes did it back in the day, so why not do it now? And I think it would have that sort of gravitas there, you know what I mean? But you really have to do like a really solid film regardless, but you have to also look at your competition and seeing what type of money they're making in the market, and seeing if you could also deliver on this forefront to the same vein, and maybe you would make more money doing more R-rated content. I personally, how I feel about Justice League, I mean, I heard that it was okay, that it wasn't the best thing since sliced bread. I think that what DC tried to do is they tried to do their own form of Avengers. They tried to do their own form of a team-up movie with Justice League and rush that out really quickly, and that really didn't end up so kosher for them. I hope that DC understands that they need to go back and work on these movies and make this universe more fleshed out, as opposed to just trying to chase the cloud because the MCU is doing it and they met their own success. Like I said earlier, once DC realized that they needed to do their own thing, then that's when they started to get readily better, in my opinion. This is why I love like the DC animated universe, because it's always like no holds barred, man. They always have something for everyone there. I know people scream to the hilltops and say, oh my god, they always do the New 52 storylines, they always sort of shoehorn this in once or twice or somewhere, and we just want to see more original stories not based based on the New 52. I get that, but at the same time, it doesn't make them entirely bad movies. I really did love the fuck out of Batman versus Ninja Turtles as a movie, and supposedly they're doing a sequel to that, and there is a sequel to the comics, so I figured, hey, why not stay on the gravy train of what's good, and if that makes people happy, do more of that. I mean, I'm totally not opposed to something like a Joker 2. Like, I'm not opposed to it at all. I am conflicted, seeing as how the first movie appeared to be a one-off, but would I be totally opposed to it if they decided to take everything up the ante and go above and beyond to make that movie fucking spectacular? No, I wouldn't say no to that. I would be the first one who puts his butt in the seat and would pay a ticket for that ASAP. So Justice League, I mean, Snyder Cut fans, fanatics, just have some expectations that are scaled back. Give it up. Stop being in denial and going to these people's social media profiles and saying, oh well, the Snyder Cut exists, but I won't stop posting about it or making petitions and doing all this other silly stuff until it actually comes out. No, that's not how movies get made. Movies get made through the publishers. It's totally a publisher decision if that movie gets greenlit and released. It always has been like that. You know, it's interesting. I saw a documentary based on Back to the Future. That movie was rejected like 40 plus something times until someone actually greenlit them, picked them up, gave them the go ahead, and the movie actually got finished, produced, and financed. Until a producer looks at that and says, yeah, maybe this will be in our best benefit at Warner Brothers, the Snyder Cut is not going to happen, and it's time to stop living in the land of delusion. I'm sure that if it was released, yeah, it could possibly be better than the original Justice League cut, but if it's just okay in general and it's not good enough to the mass audiences to go and see it, then it's going to be a box office dud. Then Warner Brothers is going to say, okay, we wasted time putting in all this money for the special effects, and ultimately it would be pointless if they decide to waste all this money on the special effects and not get any return for the film if it's just a little bit okay and not as big as they want it to be. You have to understand. Also, that would be weird how it fits in the timeline now, considering that Zack Snyder had a different vision in mind as opposed to Josh Whedon. I'm sure his vision might be a little bit better, but it remains to be seen how that movie would go. Anyway, that is my thoughts on the Snyder Cut. Snyder Cut sort of paranoia, amnesia going on with certain people because WB came out and said, no, we're not doing this, we're not putting money into this, and it's like, you know, it's over, it's done. It's time for the hashtags of release the Snyder Cut to stop. It's time. It's about that time. It's about that time. For now, until they actually surprise us, it's about that time to just stop annoying these people. Like, seriously, and move on with your life, and hopefully that DC, hopefully they listen to our criticisms and they make better movies and they make a better extended universe because of it. No matter what, whether it's standalone movies or more DCEU movies that are like Shazam, that have that sort of quality to them, either it's them, you know, hiring horror movie directors or, you know, just using that and trying to make the best movies they possibly can. At least they're going in a direction where, compared to like maybe 3 years ago, if you told me that the DCEU would have a great film put into the mix, I would probably laugh, to be honest. But now I think they're in a good headspace because they have a new president, Walter Hamada, and I think he sort of knows what he's doing, but he's also trying to kill the Snyder era. And I don't know, I mean, as long as he's going forward and making creative things, then I fully think that's what they should do instead of being hung up on one movie. You know, that's how it works. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and once again, I just wanted to make some comic related content for you guys. What do you guys think of the release the Snyder Cut business? What do you think of the Snyder Cut in general? What do you think of Justice League that came out in 2017? Comment below, let me know. Be sure to follow me on social media, and as always, like, share, subscribe, do all that fun shit, and I will see you guys next time. Later.